And we're on. Okay, thank you for your patience. I'm Kathy Lopez, and I'm going to be your moderator today. We have a great opportunity awaiting us this morning as we gather in the company of a few of Iowa's lawmakers. State Senator Ken Rosenblum is visiting us, and so we're grateful to have him. And we also have our guest of honor, Senator Chuck Grassley is here, and he will be speaking. Before we actually begin, the American Legion is here to present colors. So I ask that we all stand as able, remove hats if necessary, and face the flag as they come in.
Colors. Will you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get to the good stuff, first I want to thank the people that have made today possible. Thank you to Smoky Row for hosting us, to Midwest One for the coffee that's available. If you haven't got yourself some coffee, feel free to go over there and get some. Thank you to the media covering us today, including Oski News, Oskaloosa Herald, the New Sharon Sun, and KYOU TV. Thank you to Andy McGuire, our microphone guru, who's obviously been hard at work, from George Daly Theater. Thank you to the Oskaloosa Chamber. This, after all, is a chamber event, and without the chamber, we wouldn't have opportunities like this. I'd especially like to thank Senator Grassley, the guest of honor. Senator Grassley wasn't able to visit with us during the eggs and issue season. He was booked, pretty busy during that time of year. So he did want to make sure he visited us, and so he made it possible to come see us today, and we're grateful for that. It is my privilege to be honoring, to be introducing the Honorable Senator Grassley. Senator Grassley was born and raised in Iowa. He worked on a farm in Butler County, where he still lives today. Senator Grassley, I did do my fact checking, but feel free to let me know if I did any of this wrong. Let me know. He was elected to the Iowa legislature in 1958, to the U.S. House of Representatives in 1974, and to the U.S. Senate in 1980, where he still serves today. The senator has served on several committees. Recently, he was the chairman of the Committee on Finance, and he serves as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee today. Today, Senator Grassley holds the record for the longest record of not missing a vote of any senator in office, showing respect for the public trust that he holds. Senator Grassley also has conducted at least one meeting in each of Iowa's 99 counties each year that he served in the U.S. Senate. And this encourages the participation in the process of representative government, which is exactly why he's here today. Grassley stays connected by responding to every phone call, every letter, and every email from Iowans, and by communicating with Iowans extensively online via Facebook, Twitter, and his own website as well. So I encourage you to check out his social media platforms if you have the opportunity. And if you don't get a chance to ask a question today, then feel free to call him or write him a letter, as he obviously will get back to you. So, as we begin, I'd like to explain how this will work. If you have a question or a comment, you'll come to me, to the microphone. You'll introduce yourself. You'll tell us where you're from. I ask that you keep your questions brief and succinct because we are on a time limit. If I steal the mic away from you, it's not that you don't have the right to speak, it's just that we have only a certain amount of time. So I might ask that everyone also share an attitude of respect. I think that we all have different opinions, and that's a wonderful thing. But if Oskaloosa makes it to the news, I would love for it to be because we're respectful respectful community and not because we have an out-of-control town forum. So, with that being said, Senator Grassley, if you would like to introduce yourself and get things going, that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I can tell you, you don't have to worry about people being respectful because I was here one time for my town meeting in this very location. Thank you to Smoky Row for once again having it. And it was a very respectful meetings that I had to do the same thing we're going to do now. Basically, you're going to set the agenda, but before you set the agenda, I want to emphasize some of the things she's already said. But I think before I do that, since this is Memorial Day week, and Monday was Memorial Day, that we ought to thank the veterans, and I wouldn't probably think of that except the sacrifice of people who had served, and because the flags were presented today and the honor guard and everything, thanks the veterans for our defense of freedom, and particularly on Memorial Day, those who give the ultimate sacrifice that we remember, probably ought to remember 365 days of the year, but we give devotion to it, at least on Memorial Day. So I think, first of all, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for the many invites that I get to your Saturday Eggs and Issues events. And since I am able to come here more often during the week that we're not in session, that's why it was nice for you to be able to do it when I can be here. And you might wonder why I come to something like this, because I don't get a lot of you folks to come to my town meetings. Like yesterday in Guthrie Center, where I had a town meeting, people that are probably older and have more time to come. So I take invitations like yours for people that can't come to a town meeting. So I do this in the spirit of representative government. Those of us that are elected, I tell this to the high school classes I go to, because I don't get young people to come to my town meetings. We're one half the process of representative government. You are considered the other one half. And if you're going to have representative government, you have to have dialogue between those of us elected and the people we serve. Beyond that, she told you about my encouragement for you to email, postal mail. Sometimes people call in what they opinions are. If you leave your name and address, we answer on paper. That's a two-way communication when you can't see me face to face. And like she said, I answer all those. And if you don't get an answer, then you need to write me a nasty letter and ask me why I didn't answer your letter. But if you email me at noon, don't expect an answer at 12:15, because each day I get a daily report on the mail that comes in, and we're 14,000 behind. If that sounds like a lot that we're behind, then let me tell you, in March, no, it was in February, we were about 30,000 behind. And 3,000 some answers went out yesterday, just as an example of how we try to respond and keep on top of all the issues when you can't see me face to face. So having said that, I think that that's how I open my town meetings, like I did at Guthrie Center yesterday, and I'm opening my town meeting the same way with you, and from now on you set the agenda. That means issues you want to ask about, bills before Congress. Some of you may even want to ask a personal question. Yesterday I got a very personal question I was glad to answer. Anything, maybe some of you just want to tell me where you disagree with me. That's an important part of this meeting as well. So whatever you want to do now, it's up to you.
Respectful, right?
Yeah, I'm ready for the questions.
Well, I don't know if I am, so I just wanted to clarify, so. Who wants to be first to come up and ask the senator a question or share a comment?
Either is appropriate.
Former Representative Eric Palmer.
And thank you for breaking the ice. I think it'll be easier for everybody.
I'm shy, pretty shy, Senator. Thank you for being here. No, The president has proposed his budget, and I know that you've been a strong supporter of the president, and the state of Iowa, in fact, has been too. And in his budget, his blueprint for his ideal world, he cuts the ag budget by about 20%. And I just was, knowing he's the president of your party, I just want to know, are you going to be supporting the president in this goal, or where do you stand on that?
I think the best, before I get to the specifics of the agricultural part of it, I think it'd be better for me to explain with a budget generally. Any budget, whether it's a congressional budget or whether it's a president's budget, is a list of priorities. You got to prioritize everything. You don't do everything. The other thing is that practically every budget, I'll bet every budget, at least within the last 15 years, comes to the Hill, and it usually gets this sort of reception, whether it's Obama or George W. or Clinton. How far back I can't tell you, but for a long, long period of time. One of the things that you read is 3 words: dead on arrival. But that's only because the president's responsibility is to propose his agenda. Then Congress disposes. We have power of the purse. So the final decision is going to be what we make. So then getting to the agricultural budget, I would say a top priority is going to be the maintenance of the #1 safety net, which is crop insurance. I think that's the #1. Then there's some lesser safety nets that probably would have less priority than crop insurance, and none of these do the president. Well, he may eliminate some programs, but for the most part, there's a combination of programs and a reduction in things. After that, I think conservation has a high priority among the committee. But there's one thing about the agriculture committee that you got to keep in mind, and that is that it's a very bipartisan committee. Most bills that get out of committee get out with almost a unanimous vote, and particularly a farm bill. There's an accommodation for all points of view, so the bill has strong support within the committee, and the committee sticks together when you get out. And I was very fortunate that both I and Senator Ernst are on the committee. We're the only state that has the 2 members of the Senate on the committee. So I think you're going to get well respect for rural America in what the Congress does, or what the Agriculture Committee does.
I'll turn this back over, but do you support his goal of a 20% cut in the budget? That appears to be his goal, to cut the ag budget by 20%, which I find startling.
The answer is it will not be cut 20%, but that isn't going to say it's going to be cut some. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Who's next? Come on. Please introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good morning, I'm great. How are you today, sir? Thank you for being here. My name is Sarah Bell Staley. I was born and raised here in Oskaloosa. I'm a Foreign Service Officer. We actually spoke briefly at the State Fair last year because I'm currently serving in a recalcitrant country. But I want to ask you about the budget as well. The budget proposed makes significant cuts to our worldwide security protection budget. Senator Graham has said that these budget cuts would cause many Benghazis around the world. As someone living and serving overseas, as Ambassador Branstad heads overseas and will be responsible for the safety and security of families of diplomats, I wanted to get your reaction to those cuts to our overseas security, those proposed cuts, and ask if you would oppose them.
The answer is it's pretty difficult to say until you get down into July, and then we don't meet in August, and even in September, what directions it's taken, because we haven't even adopted the budget yet. The Congress adopts a budget that the appropriators have to stay within that budget. A budget that we adopt, called the congressional budget, doesn't go to the president, it doesn't spend any money, it's just a congressional document. Until we put that together, it's pretty difficult to say exactly what the priorities will be set. So obviously, we're going to have to get a put together a critical mass of people that will get a budget passed in the first place, and there's always accommodation for that. But I would say that of all the things that are in the budget that the president's proposed to be cut, and not indicating in any way that I agree with the president on the amount of it, but I think it would have less support in the United States Congress than supports for a lot of other programs. But that doesn't mean that what he wants to cut, 1/3 is going to be cut. But I think that there will be more cuts there than other places if there's going to be cuts. Now understand in the United States Senate, where you have to have 60 votes to pass an appropriation bill, that there's a great deal of accommodation with the other political party. Unlike in the House of Representatives, they can ignore the majority party, can ignore the minority party. We've got a Republican or Democrats in control. But in the Senate, you can't do that. So when you take that into consideration, like we just passed the final appropriation bills for this year through September 30th, there was a lot of things that the president wanted that because of compromise with the Democrats, he just didn't get. And the same thing's going to happen when we deal with the appropriation bills in this July and September this year when we get in the Senate.
Thank you. Thank you. Who's next? No reason to be shy.
No, you go ahead.
See, look how friendly we are. I love it.
My name is Chad Farner, and I live here in Oskaloosa. A couple of weeks ago, you were quoted as saying to the media that they should suck it up and move on. I guess implying that there's really nothing there to be found or seen. But it seems like there is, and it seems like the media is doing their job to try to discover things. So I guess I want to give you the opportunity to expand upon that.
Yeah, sure. I was condemned maybe 6 or 7 years ago when I had a big fight with conservatives. I said, suck it up and move on. Because there's other things to do other than just dealing with one issue. And the issue that you bring up is very, very important. We got to make sure that there hasn't been, there's been attempted influence. How was it done? And what was the impact? That's what we got to find out. And getting to the bottom of that is very important for me, because if you are cynical about government, like a lot of people are, you're more cynical now. If some foreign person was trying to influence it, it'd be one thing if they do it on their own initiative. That's not much you can do about. You know, cybersecurity, those sort of things are involved with that. You can fight back as best you can. But we know that Russia was attempting the same thing in France, Netherlands. They think it's going to happen this fall in Germany. Their goal is probably to attack democracy generally. That's bad as far as I'm concerned, but if they do it on their own initiative, but if they're doing it in conjunction with people within the United States, it's very, very bad, and we've got to get to the bottom of it. So that was, but while we're doing that, we got a lot of other things we have to do. So suck it up and move on. In other words, spend your time if you're on a committee that's doing that, but if you aren't on that, do something else. And then you'd also like to have the media talk about things that have to be done. You know, all the budget stuff that we talked about here, all of the other stuff. But when it seems like the media is only concerned about that one issue. Well, when I'm having my town meetings out here, you bring this up. There may be other things that bring up versions of what you're doing. But for the most part, I get one question like yours, and then I get 10 other questions. So it seems to me the media ought to be reflecting what's on people's minds as well. I mean, jobs and the budget and health care is a very, very big issue. But particularly the New York Times and Washington Post is just dwelling on one thing. Now, getting back to the concern that you have and legitimately have, I have the same concern But right now, we've had accusations that we got to get to the bottom of. There has been no determination by anybody that there was an influence to change votes or to elect one candidate over the other in any substantive way. The only thing that's really been proven so far, and nobody arrested for it, but there's absolute proof that people were leaking classified information, and leaking classified information is a felony, and that ought to be pursued the same way, and is being pursued by the FBI, but it's never being pursued by the media, as an example. Okay, does that, if you got a follow-up, I'd be glad to, okay. Next question.
Thank you. Do you want to come up? I know you were headed up earlier. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Don Sterling. I'm from Oskaloosa, and I was actually going to ask you another question until that answer. And my concern is we seem to be more concerned about the leakers who are bringing injustice to light, who are bringing concerns to light, than we are about the concerns that they're bringing up. And that concerns me. I'd much rather, I understand it's a felony, but if you don't have somebody who's letting you know what's going wrong in the world, how do we keep it from happening?
You bring up a very good point, and it gives me an opportunity to clarify that leaking in and of itself is not wrong or a crime, only the leaking of classified information, and that's what I'm counting on. Any other leakers I'm thankful for, because I'm quite a beneficiary of my work and the reputation I have for what you call oversight, to make sure that Congress is a check on the executive branch of government. You can call them leakers, or you can call them whistleblowers, whatever you want to. But about, last year I sent out 550 letters, mostly to government agencies. And I'll bet 90% of my information came from, you can call them leakers, I call them whistleblowers. And there are people that are just patriotic citizens that want to make sure the government does what the law says it's supposed to do, spend the money accordingly, and they probably don't even know what the term whistleblower means, but they'll go up through the chain of command and not get any. Then they come to Congress, that's what makes them a whistleblower, and then it's where I get most of my information for investigations that I do. So leaking in and of itself is not wrong, it's only the classified. But I think that, so then I'm talking about not enough emphasis, not enough discussion in the press about the leaking of classified information.
That's very helpful.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification and for that follow-up question. Anyone else have a question or comment?
My name is Ethan Farner. I'm born and raised here in Oskaloosa. And this morning, Donald Trump announced that within the next few days, he will have, he's going to announce whether or not he wants to lead the Paris Climate Agreement. So I was just wondering what your personal stance on that is, and if the benefits that businesses might receive outweigh the negative effects, obviously, on the environment.
First of all, did they say if he is going to withdraw? Because I hate to comment on his withdrawing if that isn't what he's going to do.
No, official.
Let me ask my staff.
Yeah, what he said is right. He announced this morning within the next couple of days he's
Well,
going to
he
decide.
but he didn't say what he's going to do.
Right.
Well, let's put it this way. Well, first of all, just on climate change generally, or global warming, whatever you want to call it, there's no doubt that that's going on. The only scientific disagreement that I see is the extent to which humans contribute to it, and obviously humans contribute to it, but there's different things, So then if let's put it this way, the principle in the agreement, as an agreement, and really a non-enforceable agreement, is one thing. But there is some speculation, so then let's say stay in under those circumstances. But there's some feeling among legal minds here in this country that such an agreement could take on the position that if the United States does not meet the goals, that the United States could be taken to, or people could be taken to court under that agreement. I think that's wrong from this standpoint, that it's a presidential agreement between the presidents of 100 and some countries, leaders of 100 and some countries, but it was, under our Constitution, presidential agreements are not law. And if it was a treaty and submitted to the Congress of the United States and the Senate approved it, then it would be part of the constitutional law of America. Then under those circumstances, it would be okay for people to defend it any way they want to, or take people to court that are violating the agreement and all that. But an agreement's an agreement and a treaty is a treaty. And if that agreement doesn't have the force of law, then I'd say stay in. It doesn't make any difference. We're part of what we've been doing since we've got our CO2 back down to 1993 levels. We're way ahead of every other place in the world. But China, under this agreement, doesn't have to do anything until 2030. See, and and you know how they're polluting. You can't hardly walk through Beijing without a mask over your face, as an example. So that's where I am on it, and I don't know what conclusion he'll come to. But that's if you told me he'd withdrawn, then I'd say, well, if it has the force of law, then I think he did the right thing. If it doesn't have the force of law, then I'd say he should have probably stayed in. You bet.
Other questions or comments?
For those of you that are too bashful, if you realize how much you paid me per minute, you wouldn't waste a minute. I mean, I'm here to...
Look at this, here we go.
Okay, thank you.
Just related.
You're a bike
runner.
or run.
My name's Jason.
I'm a slow one.
Me too. My name's Jason Lohner, and I live between Eddyville and Etobicoke down here. Related to healthcare, give us some resources we can use to try to get the truth. It doesn't seem like coming through Obamacare, we ever were told the truth, or you can never figure out what was going on. With this new system that's being proposed, you're not sure what's the truth. Give us some resources that we can try to get the truth, or divulge the truth of what's really taking place there.
It may surprise you and other people here when I say there was probably very good intentions in Obamacare, and when we were told certain things like if you like your doctor, you can keep it. If your insurance is going to go down $2,500, and if you like your doctor, you can keep it. And it didn't turn out that way. I think it was well intended, and it wasn't a lie at the time, but it turned out to be wrong. So maybe you can't call it a lie, but it turned out to be wrong. So I can tell you intentions that we have in replacing it, and they may not work out the way we intended. And even those of you that paid attention to the Congressional Budget Office report that said it's going to save $100 and some billion and 23 million people might not have health insurance as a result of it, then you can go back to the same CBO thing in 2009 that said it was only going to cost $980 billion over a 10-year period of time. It's gone up to well into the trillions. Not maybe I shouldn't say plural, but well, let's say double of what it was going to cost. And 29 million people, even right now, don't have health insurance, and everybody was going to have health insurance. See? So you know, when CBO looks ahead 10 years, they don't have a very good record of being accurate, but it's just like the gospel in Washington, D.C. that these things are going to happen. So what I can tell you is, not getting back to answering your question, is kind of like what we intend to do. We intend to not have one size fit all, Washington DC. There will be more dispersal of decision making to the states. You'll have more choices for insurance, because right now everyone has to fit into the bronze or the platinum or the gold or the silver, you know, and so you don't have the options you used to have. Small business used to have things, or people could have catastrophic policies that they felt fit their need. You can't have them now. So more choice of the kind of insurance you have. Hopefully, the problems that we have in Iowa now, probably next week when another insurance company pulls out of Iowa, 94 of the 99 counties, you won't even have an insurance company in exchange for you to buy insurance if you got the help of Obamacare. So 70,000 people, 70,000 Iowans won't be able to buy health insurance for 2018 unless we get something done. And I think another goal would be to not have regulation of medicine so much that you get the government between you and your doctor. More choices of individual approaches that are transportable portable from one job to another, like health savings accounts, and give people that, like about 60% of the people that have health insurance get it from their employers. That is a tax exempt income for those people. We ought to give the same choice to people that don't have employer insurance. So there's going to be tax credits for people of different ages and income to get help, so that they can have the same tax-free benefit that people that work at John Deere's have. Some things that we would like to do that you can't do under the process of reconciliation, and I won't go into describe what reconciliation is, but it's one of two things you can do in the Senate without getting 60 votes. So we're using the process of reconciliation. There's things like medical malpractice, tort reform that we ought to pass and cut down on the cost of medicine. You can't do that under reconciliation. You can't sell insurance across state lines under the reconciliation process. Those will have to come later. But what I've described to you is what we're trying to put together in here. But you're trying to find a balance between people that have been helped under Obamacare, like no pre-existing conditions. I think that's something that would be maintained. Having the children on your health insurance until 26, I think that would be maintained. The other things I'm suggesting would be dramatically changed. There wouldn't be an employer mandate. There wouldn't be an individual mandate. So if you don't want to buy insurance, you don't have to pay a penalty to the IRS and all that sort of stuff. So then, I think kind of summing up, maybe I better stop there. Do you have a specific follow-up question?
Well, just real quick, it's related to the 70,000 that may lose their insurance in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
What is the option going to be there if that other insurance company pulls out? Is there going to be any option at all, or assuming that nothing happens between now and the end of the year on this?
You know, Blue Cross is one that pulled out. They're trying. They think they would have the capability of getting back in. There's a process in Obamacare called 1332 waivers, where a state can ask for a waiver. But the legislature would have to take some direction to do that. In the meantime, I've talked to the director of Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services about can she do that on her own, give a waiver so Blue Cross can get back in. And she said the lawyers tell them that Obamacare doesn't give her the authority to do that. She's thinking about taking a chance of not being sued and doing it to help out not only Iowa, but there's a lot of counties in Missouri, Tennessee, whole state of Delaware, where there's similar problems. But Obamacare may have had good intentions, but it didn't work out, and what we're trying to correct is the flaws that are in Obamacare.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Along that line, I do know that there are provisions within the new legislation for health care that they're talking about Medicaid cuts as well, which is also a significant factor within all those individuals who cannot afford to pay for care, particularly older individuals and that type of thing. Of concern to me, and I'm glad that you mentioned pre-existing conditions, because I think that's a significant concern of a lot of people out there, is the cost that we may be looking at with premiums, with all the choices that are available. That, I think, was also addressed within the budget information, as well as significant cuts to people who cannot afford to pay. So I don't anticipate that having the health spending accounts is going to assist those people, because they cannot afford the care to begin with.
Well, no, health savings accounts would be for people that they work for, but the idea would be that give more leeway to individuals than what Obamacare does of putting everything within 4 categories of health care and ruling out some things like what small business used to do, give their employees some cash to buy health insurance. That was done away with Obamacare. People that felt that a catastrophic policy would take care of their needs, that was done away with Obamacare. And the idea of what we're trying to do is to give people more choices, not less, and health savings accounts is one of them. If you don't want a health savings account, you don't have to do it. But Obamacare has made health savings accounts less good for a lot of people than they were. Okay, does that answer your question?
What do you anticipate, though? A lot of the things with Obamacare are related to funding for our subsidies as far as the insurance companies are concerned. And from my understanding, a good reason that Obamacare has not been successful has to do with the fact that Congress did not pass and authorize subsidies for the health insurance companies. Is that true?
Well, the reason, I think that, like Obama did, I think that at least for a short period of time, the president on his own is going to reinstitute those. But it's kind of until Congress gets something passed to help over. But the point is that there was a lawsuit filed by the House of Representatives that President Obama, when he gave the money to the insurance companies, was acting contrary to law. And should that lawsuit go ahead or not is an issue. I don't think it will. I think that we've got to act relatively fast to get a substitute for Obamacare, and that really isn't an issue. But you're right that there is debate going on now whether that subsidy would be continued. But remember, there was a subsidy was meant to be under the law for just the first 2 years to get it off the ground. Then there wasn't supposed to be any subsidy anymore. So people that say there should be a subsidy aren't really going against Obamacare. It's just the practice that Obama on his own continued. And that's why the House of Representatives went to court over it. But the court case hasn't proceeded.
Do you anticipate that with the Senate taking a look at the new provisions, I understand that they're making significant recommendations as far as sending it back to the House, that the Democrats and Republicans will come together for the common good of health care for individuals who cannot afford it?
Oh, I'll tell you, it's going to be tougher in the Senate than it is in the House of Representatives, because there was about a group of 30 people you could work with to find some sort of compromise to get the 218 votes it takes to get something through the House of Representatives. In the United States Senate, there's only 52, so losing more than 2, you don't get anything done. And so it's going to have to be done. What's put together, or how it's put together, is something that's been a subject of discussion within groups of probably an hour and a half every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for the last 3 weeks. And if you'd sit in on those meetings like I do, you'd say, well, this is never going to happen. But the point is, it's got to happen for 2 reasons. One of them isn't very important to most people, is a political reason, because we promised change for a long period of time, And by golly, when you get the presidency and you get both houses, you better deliver, or you better not expect to be in a majority very long. And that doesn't affect people's health, but that's a political reason for getting together and getting something done. And the other one is, what we have found is wrong with Obamacare, like 70,000 people in Iowa not getting insurance, or people that have insurance, like a friend of mine at New Hartford, Iowa, a farmer. He was paying $20,000 last year. It went up to $32,000 this year. He got it back down to $25,000 by joining an HMO, but it's got a $15,000 deductible. And the wife has a pre-existing condition, so basically, except for having insurance for a pre-existing condition, what good is it if you got a $50,000 deductible and you can't use it? So we hear so much about the people that have been helped by Obamacare. You got to take them into consideration, but you got to take into consideration how Obamacare has screwed up a lot of insurance for a lot of people that it's not affordable for them, and they don't get any of the help that you're talking about.
Affordability is very important.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we've got one over here. Come on over.
By the way, these are awful good questions. I thank you very much. And there are questions that, except for the healthcare questions, we've had most of the questions haven't come up at my other town meetings. Now, I don't know whether Oskaloosa is probably a little bit different, right?
Hello, Senator Grassley. Thank you for being here. My name is Donna Kukuma. I'm from Oskaloosa.
Are you Joe's wife?
No, I am not.
The only reason I asked you, I know Joe.
Well, there's a bigger story there, but we won't go into that today.
I hope I didn't say something to embarrass you. I didn't.
You didn't embarrass me, but you might embarrass yourself. Okay, the question. President Trump has encouraged the Senate to change the rules so that they can pass legislation with 50%, as they did for the Supreme Court nominee. I think you voted in favor of that, and I'm wondering how you feel about this.
Well, first of all, we changed it for the Supreme Court because Reed changed it for all other judges and cabinet people 4 years before that. And if you go back 17 years prior to that, in other words, starting about 2002, there was always a consensus among the United States Senate that judges and cabinet people would not be filibustered. And then starting in about 2002, which is 220 years after the Constitution was written, one party decided we can filibuster judges, and then when the other party got into power, well, if this party's going to filibuster judges, then we're going to filibuster judges. And then finally, there was a filibustering of judges in the Obama administration, so Reed says, we're going to change the rules so that we can't filibuster judges except for the Supreme Court. And then since you can't have one rule for Democratic presidents and another rule for Republican presidents, we changed it to 51 for the Supreme Court, but basically it's the same as it was from 1789 up till about 2001 or 2. And so, but that's one thing. Now the 60% you're talking about is for all legislation. So I kind of got to answer your question by asking you and the other people a question in return. The Constitution writers set the Senate up as a deliberative body. You study that in high school and college. We're a deliberative body. Things are supposed to move a lot slower than they do in the House of Representatives. Supposed to give more thought, as Hamilton said in the Federalist Papers, to bring continuity and stability to the governmental decision making. So you don't make one law one day and change it the next day. You got to have predictability and stability if you're going to have an economy that's going to advance. So that's the reason we're a deliberative body. It's also the only place in the political system where minority points of view are protected. In other words, in the House of Representatives, a Republican or Democrat majority can ignore the minority as long as the majority sticks together. Whereas in the United States Senate, when you have 60 votes, and only twice since I've been in the Congress, so sometime in the 1970s and then again in 2009 and 10 when Obama was passed, no one party's had 60 votes, so they could run the rush out over the minority. So when you have 52 Republicans and 48 Democrats, you gotta think, you want the Senate to be exactly like the House and let the majority run roughshod over the minority, or do you want the minority to have some input into it? And I think you get more compromise and more of a centrist point of view in the Senate than you get in the House of Representatives. And if you believe we ought to have more moderation in the government and politics, it seems to me you get that out of the United States Senate. You don't get that out of the House of Representatives. And that doesn't matter whether Republicans are in control or Democrats are in control. So it's kind of a question I put to you. I've come down on the side that we ought to have a political system where the minority party, and remember, I've been in the minority more than I've been in the majority. And Democrats are the minority now. I don't think they want to give up that. Republicans could take it away from them, but it wouldn't be in the tradition of what Hamilton decided the United States Senate ought to be doing when he wrote about it in the Federalist Papers. So I'm kind of on the side of not being the same as the House of Representatives, having the Senate be a deliberative body, and more importantly, have the minority have some input. Like for instance, in my committee on judiciary last year, well I should say 15 and 16, we voted 31 bills out of committee. Every bill was a bipartisan bill, and 18 of them went to a Democratic president.
I think we have time for, she agrees. I think we have time for one more question. So, okay.
My name is Jane Cosleridge. I live here in Oski. And I came here to listen, not to speak, but when you mention how much you're getting paid per minute and wasting money, everybody who knows I don't want to do that. So I'll come up and take some of your time. My question is more about Veterans Affairs, so maybe you could pass this along to the Veterans Affairs Committee. And this, particularly the C-Box, which are good for people who live in the rural areas, can't get to Des Moines or Iowa City. But the 40-mile limitation, I don't understand, because that isn't always good. Specifically, C-Box are open from Monday morning to Friday afternoon. That's okay, but for one thing, even if you're sick then, they don't have any medications in their buildings, at least Knoxville doesn't. And then if a veteran gets sick between Friday night and over the weekend, 2 days, or a holiday weekend is 3 days, they have no place to go except locally. They have no place to get any meds except locally, and they have to pay out of their pocket for that. I know veterans who can't afford it. Some meds are $200 or more. So what's the purpose of the 40-mile limitation in those cases?
Am I not, I'm going to have to ask you a question in return. Isn't the 40-mile limitation related to the choice program? You know what the choice program is? If you can't get into the Veterans Hospital, you can go to a local doctor. Isn't that where the 40 miles comes in?
I know what the choice program is. I'm thinking that's if you can't get in within 30 days, you can use the choice program.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
But you also have to be within 40 miles, I think.
Yeah, is that applicable like just over the weekend, or if you can't get in within 30 days?
Well, since this is a little bit in transition, let me answer your question this way. First of all, and I'm not on the Veterans Affairs Committee, but I think I can speak a little bit about what I know they're up to. There's going to be a Veterans Affairs bill up next week when we're back. Probably almost the first important piece of legislation we've taken up because we've spent so much time on these nominations, you know. But also I heard on television an interview by the new Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and he's thinking about expanding the choice program and using the C-Box as a point of entry into the system of the expansion of the C-Box program. I mean, the expansion of the choice program, making great use of it. So I would like to say that the C-Box are kind of pretty much in transition right now. Thank you very much, and thanks all of you for being a kind audience.
Well, time flies when you're having fun, and sure enough, time here is about up. I know we're just getting into the swing of things, and then I started to see more hands go up. So So I'm sorry about that. If you didn't get to answer or ask a question, then like the senator said, feel free to email him or send him a letter, give him a call. I'm going to let the senator have a minute or two to wrap things up, and then I am going to finish things with a few more thank yous. So go ahead, Senator Grassley.
I don't think there's anything except thank you for the Smoky Row. And by the way, I've been in Smoky Row there. I think it's in Des Moines, kind of on by the freeway, or where you enter the freeway. Is that right? I've been there a couple times. That was kind of a small group discussion. People were meeting there to talk issues as well. So anyway, bottom line of it is, thank you for your hospitality and thank you for getting it together. And you continue to send those invitations to me. And if I can't get with you on a Saturday, I'll try to get with you on a weekday, like when we aren't in session. I didn't explain this, but I always like to say when I'm in Iowa on a weekday, since I haven't missed a vote since 1993, that I'm not skipping business. We're not in session on this week because of the Memorial Day holiday. So I would encourage you to follow up with the email and the other ways of communication so we can keep in touch and expect an answer. And if you don't get one, let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Senator Grassley. I know your time is valuable. It means so much that you came here to hear our voices, and we appreciate that. I want to thank all of you, like Senator Grassley said, for coming. If you skipped work, I promise not to tell. It was totally, there may be media covering this, so I'm sorry if you got busted for that, but it was totally worth it. We're glad you're here. Thank you to Smoky Row, again to Midwest One, to Andy McGuire and George Daly Theater for our sound, to Oski News, Oskaloosa Herald, KYOU TV, and the Oskaloosa Chamber. Again, I'm Kathy Rothfuss. I'm so thankful to have spent this morning with you, and I look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, Oskaloosa.